The next one here is, does a smart jiu-jitsu practitioner does their best to be a good follower, and in turn will make a good leader someday. So this is an idea that a lot of people struggle with, because we live in a time of like instant gratification, and we live in a time where people will try to circumvent the normal processes so that they can just simply be in the front. Jiu-jitsu is not as bad, but in a lot of cases, people will sort of circumvent the normal processes that they would have had to have done previously to prove themselves and be credible, just so they can just be in the front, like, look at me, like I'm doing something, regardless of what's actually true. And so you don't want to be one of those people, right? Like, you want to take your time, you want to do it the right way, because you'll be rewarded for that in some way, shape, or form. Regardless of whether or not, again, we all have those things where we're like, we see things and we want to be there. We want to be at that point. It's like driving a car and you want the road trip to be over because you want to be at the destination at some point. But again, the road trip is just a part of it. You got to go through it. And I've seen a lot of people over the years, they want to be jiu-jitsu coaches, or whatever. And they do it too early, and they don't put enough focus on being a good follower first. Yeah. And so in turn, they don't know how to be a good leader. They haven't soaked up enough energy or enough of the teachings and everything else. And if they're so focused on themselves, they're not going to be the best leader, because how can you be a good leader if you're not dedicated to on the other side, right? Because to be a good follower, you got to be dedicated. Okay, you got to be loyal to the person that you're following. On the flip side, if you're a good leader, you're dedicated and you're loyal to the following that you have to guide. And so it has to be the both ways. And I've seen several over the years, people go into coaching or leading gyms and things like that prematurely. And this thing happens where they did it because they wanted to be the person. And then they got in there, and because it was so focused on them, people would come in, and then people would also leave very quickly. They'd have a high attrition rate in their gym, even higher than normal. And these people who were dedicated and really wanted to train, they would leave and go to other gyms because they felt like the coach wasn't really in there for them. And so I think it's a wise idea. Like, if like a jiu-jitsu coach or whatever is something that you're striving for someday, dedicate yourself to, the person that's following, that's leading, the leader, right? Like, and again, if they do bad stuff, that's a different situation. But assuming that they're a decent person, decent human being, you follow them and be dedicated to that and be 100% in. And then when opportunities come up, you'll probably find yourself in a situation to where you can take advantage of them. That was how it happened to me. I was the quintessential like jiu-jitsu student who was down for whatever. I'd teach classes for free if I had to. I didn't care. I was like, I just wanted to teach. I was training all the time. I was there to support the gym. I was there to support the other guys that are getting ready for fights. If guys had to get ready for competition, I was there to support. I was there all the time doing that stuff, and I was on the mats all the time, and I was there to support my coaches in any way possibly that I could. And so again, then when the gym was switching ownerships and a new coach was needed, I was there, and that's how that worked.
You got to pay your dues, man. There's no way around it. I mean, you have to, and you have to be, I don't like to speak in absolutes, but I just don't see any way you can be a good leader without being a good follower first. Cause you got to know what works and what doesn't, what worked for you and what you responded well to it. And what are the attributes of a leader that that you model yourself after, right? Like, if, we try to, like for you, for example, you lead from the front, you say things, or you may have certain concepts and ideas and you do those things. So it's like when you're like telling us something, we believe you because you do it. And you've shown us through your own work the success that you've had, right? So like that's just how it is. It's like you're not going to teach a marketing course if you have no idea about marketing. You've never been successful yourself, right?
But in marketing, a lot of people do that.
That's a weird thing, though, man. That's a weird thing. That's about, and you know this better than anybody, Chewy. You've been on both sides of this thing, right? You've been a student now, and now you have people that you teach this side, the marketing side to. Yeah. So like like, man, like you can create this persona and this thing, like with, videos and lights and flashy items in the background. You can create this persona in marketing specifically. But like in jiu-jitsu, like if you can't teach, like if people, you can't teach them how to do the proof is in the pudding, really. And like you won't get good results. Like with the marketing thing, you're not gonna get good results. People aren't gonna make money if you don't teach them the right stuff because you didn't do the stuff yourself.
Well, so this is completely aside. And again, this is more of a business thing, but maybe people will be entertained by it. So I get these messages from people like on a daily basis saying like basically, hey, Chewy, or hey, they don't say Chewy, they say, hey, Nick. That's how you know they don't know me. Hey, Nick, we really like your videos on YouTube. And then it would like put a title of one of the videos was a really good one. We would love to send, or I'd love to send you some stuff to improve with your copywriting or whatever to help you make more money. And the first time I saw it, I was like, okay, man, show me what you got. And then they sent this boilerplate template copywriting that was terrible, it was awful. I'm a student of copywriting. By the way, if anybody's on this, you guys are copywriters, shoot me a message. I need to hire like a junior one to help me out with some stuff. But these cold email templates are absolute garbage. So eventually I got one guy and it was so bad. Like you could tell where the text was originally one font, and he had copied and pasted stuff, and that was a different font, and it stood out. I was like, this is garbage. I replied back, I'm like, is this a bot? And he's like, no, this isn't a bot. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, where are you guys getting this cold email template from? And he sent me this like website. I'm like, man, you need to get your money back, bro. I was like, this is absolute garbage.
It's so awful to hear that. Like if you're trying to preach that and somebody's like, no, this shit sucks.
Well, he got very defensive too. And I'm like, bro, like you can say whatever you want to. I was like, I would love to hire another copywriter because I could use them. But I'm like, you're not even putting any work into this, and you haven't developed any of the skill necessary. Like if you want to be a good copywriter, you got to do something. You got to write every day. It's like if you want to be good at jiu-jitsu, you got to write. You got to do jiu-jitsu often, right? If you want to get big and swole, you got to go lift weights. I mean, there's no secret to it. You've got to do practice. That's the way you get good at something, and you can't just copy and paste something and think that's going to work. And it was such junk. But again, it's the same thing with jiu-jitsu, right? Like you can't just, you can put on some smoke and mirrors for a little bit, but eventually your skill is going to be exposed in some way, shape or form. And it's just not a good idea. And again, it's a useful thing when you're wanting to become a leader someday, to really focus on your own experiences, to focus on what you get out of everything. So this way you can have a cup full of experiences that you can then dole out to your students someday and to your followers. Because if you don't do that first part, if you just like want to race to the front of the line, then you get to the end and you got nothing to show for it. You have no experiences to give out. You have no wisdom, which comes from experience. You're just this person that's, wanting to be the person because you're going on an ego trip.